Ki rua mai tātou tēnā nā koutou katoa e te iwi. No mai whakatau mai rā, no mai ahara mai mo te taitoko mo te kaupapa na Watene Maori. No mai hara mai mo te kaupapa o te reo Maori, te reo wiki, ai, whakarongo mai, titiro mai, karanga mai. And if you just join us, good evening. We've just been going over some photos from our archives and of course stuck on with one of our fires that looks after the drug-free ambassadors. And we were just going through some mahi that she had been doing with us over the last couple of days around a drug-free world. And we'll talk about an alcohol-free world too, because, you know, it's always great to have Grant on the program with us this evening. He's a great part of the Maori Wardens and moving Maori Wardens forward while we work around this kaupapa in our communities that's been affecting our communities. But I'll get our matua to introduce himself. I know he's very busy this evening. Also, Whai Mereana Peka, who is the chair of the Turehou Maori Wardens, and the work that they've been doing and working alongside Mereana to get that information out to all our wardens across different parts of the motu. But it's very important that we do so. We are hoping to have on tonight also, and they might pop in later on, is the Auckland District Māori Council, Robert Abraham, who is the Auckland Chair of the Auckland Māori Council, to congratulate their kaupapa around the Māori Wardens that are going to be celebrating very shortly over at Orake, Marae. So hoping that myself and of course Dr. Grant and myself and Mereana can go out and upbeat that. And also we were going to have Matua Winston Peters, who is a great advocacy of the Maori Wardens, and he's tried to get to us and tried to make that contact because as you know, New Zealand First, they're back in this year, and of course he's done some awesome work with the Maori Wardens too. So I'm happy to catch up with him. He was going to try to get on the program this evening and talk about what he thinks that should be happening around the crime that's happening around the communities, and also talk about the alcohol and of course around the liquor stores that are all over the motu. So hoping that he might be able to make his way in. We have left lines open for him to come directly straight in this evening. But aroha mai matua Grant, I'll let you come on and introduce yourself so we can get straight into the program. Kia ora matua, kia ora.
Kia ora, Thomas. Ki te pē koe, Thomas?
Ki te pai, kai nui tōku rā.
Ka pai. So, ko Dr. Grant Hewison Takawingwa. My role really is mainly being the secretary of the organisation called Communities Against Alcohol Harm. But the journey that it's had and I've had on the alcohol, reducing alcohol-related harm really has been very, very closely with Maori Wardens since the first time I started working in this almost 10 years ago, and particularly Whaimeri and her amazing work over this decade as well, particularly just challenging the number of liquor stores, as you say, the kind of proliferation of liquor stores, like they're almost on every corner throughout the motu, but particularly, in our more vulnerable communities. So really challenging that and saying, look, we need less, not more. And then trying to get more conditions on their licenses so that they're not selling the most risky products, particularly singles of high strength products like RTDs and those high strength beers, that can do quite a lot of damage in communities, and just make them operate or challenge them to operate at the kind of highest standards that they should be. So we've been working on that mahi for nearly a decade now. Next year will be a decade. And I suppose also in part of that process, just working with Whaimiri in particular, but yourself, Thomas, as well, to reinforce the role of the Maori Wardens in that kaupapa. You look back to the history of Maori Wardens, going even back to prior to Te Tiriti, and alcohol was very much a part of that, the role of Maori Wardens to keep alcohol under control, to try and keep it out of Maori communities. And that's remained a central part of the kaupapa, and it's kind of captured in that community, Maori community development legislation. But as I like to say, that legislation was of its time, but the central part of the role of Maori Wardens in that legislation was to reduce alcohol-related harm, particularly in Maori communities. And it had some powers and some responsibilities again of that time, but you bring it forward to 2023, and that's still a really central part of the kaupapa. And the kind of work that we're doing, I think fits really nicely into that kind of role of Maori Wardens. And our vision is to reinforce that and support Maori Wardens play the role that has always been there in just managing that consumption of alcohol and the availability of it, and the way it's pushed onto communities through advertising, through sponsorship, through all those kinds of modern processes that operate in our societies now. So so thank you very much for inviting me. Always a pleasure to be with you and talk about these issues and how we can do more.
I think they're very important issues, Matua, and and that's why we love having this corridor, this robust corridor about educating. And I always say to wardens, when you know that we're on, hara mai, be a part of that corridor, because you can join on to us, you can have your say, and don't get whakama. A lot of our wardens, I suppose, in different organisations, different services, they get whakama to talk to media, they get whakama to talk to, I suppose, just at these levels. And, and when we get back to just having plain hui's, they go, I like what Matua Grant said about, and I said, well, this is why it's very important that we have these robust hui's, so that we're able to get the right message across in the right way. It's just like now, Matua, that with mental health, because mental health week, all this week and next week, of course, and we've been supporting mental health. There's a big kaupapa that now, if there's a call out and there's an urgency, police don't have to go by themselves now, or the ambos don't have to go with themselves, because there'll be someone that will be going with them, psychologist, or someone that can support and help make it a bit more easier. And I think that should be the same way with the liquor licensing. People come onto the ground and just do that walk with the Maori Wardens. Come and have a look for yourself. Over 80-something different brands, and I might get shot in the foot, but I'll get that checked up in Auckland. Different brands of alcohol just down by the viaduct in those areas were picked up and put in one parcel. One picked up and put in one area. And that was just on a Saturday night. So it still tells us that the drinking is still heavy, and how easy it is to walk around freely in Auckland, and yet it's supposed to be alcohol and liquor banned areas right across the Auckland CBD.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. Well, look, you've been a voice, for expressing those concerns over many years about the way in which alcohol fuels the problems of the Auckland CBD. And I remember seeing YouTube clips and media clips of you just walking around on a single night, looking at all the different hot spots of either taverns that stay open just too late and cause problems in the early morning, or people purchasing alcohol from off licenses and then just walking freely through the CBD and consuming that and discarding their cans and bottles, and the cleanup that's required the next day, with the mountains of that alcohol related litter. But look, I think any of those sorts of issues around crime and violence and feelings of people being unsafe and all those sorts of things, alcohol it's somewhere always in all of that
Yes,
mix. Yeah.
it,
Um,
it certainly
and
is.
yeah, we've made it too freely available and too strong. Like it's you can get intoxicated just drinking a single can of some of those products. So um, and we've made it so that it's advertised everywhere. It's promoted very heavily. People think it's the icing on the cake, or the thing that they have to have at functions or events. Yeah, and it causes so much harm. Yeah, so yeah, we're not about prohibiting it. I mean, I think it's really difficult to prohibit drugs. It's better to treat this one in particular as something that causes harm, and to regulate it,
Yes,
with that knowledge. Yeah.
yeah, and I think you're certainly right, because the events that we're doing now, Maori Wardens are doing, and if it has to do with alcohol, and we're looking after this, the best thing we're going to say is these people driving.
Mm,
Is there someone that's doing the safe thing around
mm,
getting them home from this venue?
mm,
Oh, much of we've got buses coming. Great,
mm, mm,
great,
mm,
because that's what it is. Yes, you've got to get security. You've got to make sure that the place is looked after, but also it's our responsibility to make sure that you get home and you're not getting in your car because you're tanked.
mm, mm,
And and we're still seeing that with a lot of different events that we do, that they're still trying to understand the safety around getting home.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah, no, it's
You might just say that you're getting in your car and it's only 2 minutes. Well,
oh,
2 minutes, you've got to kill someone within 2 minutes. Only takes 2 seconds.
yeah, 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 yeah. And it's not worth the risk. It's it's a lifelong thing. If you're in that situation and you've harmed or killed someone, you've got to live with that for the rest of your life. And it's just too easy to do that. So you're right. I think a big part of what we've seen a bit of a slowdown over the last few years is because the police have been on COVID and
Yeah.
all that sort of thing. I think the amount of drink driving kind of testing they're doing is probably fallen away a bit, and I think that's unfortunate, because it's always a good reminder if the police are out there doing that. And even if you pass through and you haven't had a drink and you're testing negative, it's still a good experience of going, yep, that's something definitely shouldn't be doing. So yeah.
The, the yeah the different brands that are out there too, Matua Grant. The
Mm,
different brands that are coming from different parts of the country. Aloha. You've got them from coming from different parts, and they're pretty cheap if you really look around the supermarkets and you have a look at all the different colors and the different, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Look, it's. I mean, most of the products that are on sale in New Zealand, I think, actually come from overseas.
Yeah.
If you look at that selection of products that you've got there,
Mm.
you're hard to find a product in there that's actually made in New Zealand anymore. You know, most of them are just imported in big containers and sent into supermarkets or other places. So they're coming from all around the world, and they're extremely cheap. You can see some of the prices for some of those products there, and look, you can't buy milk for that price in New Zealand.
No.
That's cheaper than that, and yeah, it's the alcohol is a very, very cheap commodity now, and because of that, it's something um, people consume too much of, I think. Yeah.
And that's right. The other thing I noticed that's been changing in a way how different around the law in
Yep.
regards to how Maori Wardens have been working within the communities in regards to safer communities, where now Maori Wardens have been now targeted in regards to um, uh, more identification in regards to what qualities or sorry what um, what qualifies us as Maori Wardens to be able to go out and do what we do. And I think that's just so stupid
Yeah.
because first and foremost for us is around community safety,
Mm, mm,
the harm that alcohol does.
mm.
And I just feel so aroha for and for the likes of yourself too, Matua Grant, and for the likes of Mereana and and all the work that her people have been doing in regards to um, safer communities
Yeah.
when it comes
Yeah.
to alcohol.
Yeah.
Um, under the Act, the 62 Māori Community Development Act, Māori Wardens have a section there, and it states quite clearly. I'm not. I don't know too much about the law. How does that work, Matua? What does it give us as right as Māori Wardens? If
Yeah.
someone to say to us,
Yeah. So as a Maori warden, if you are operating under that act, as I said, it's a bit of a product of its time. So it's from 1962.
hmm,
You certainly wouldn't sort of have that type of kind of approach in 2023. Um, but as I said, what it was about was the really reinforcing the tradition that extends way back to Te Tiriti and before that of reducing alcohol-related harm in Māori communities. And in 2023, I think where the harm has shifted to is these supermarket off licenses, bottle stores, where like the photo you just showed, you've got so much alcohol, for sale. It's so cheap. And in 2023, it's about how can we protect our whānau and communities and hapori from that amount of alcohol being promoted and displayed, and then eventually bought and taken back to homes or taken to local parks or wherever people are consuming it. So part of the role, I think, that's shifted from 1962 to 2023 is playing a role in challenging these retailers of alcohol about being more responsible. Like not selling the high strength singles that particularly vulnerable people will purchase for a couple of dollars and consume almost straight outside the store, in a public place. And saying, well, if you
yes,
are going to sell that type of, if you're going to sell alcohol, then we don't want you selling that kind of product, or not as singles and cheap singles. So part of the work that we've been doing, and you've been part of this journey as well, Thomas, is just challenging those big institutions, some of the big supermarkets and then bottle stores to just act in a much better way. And I think for Maori Wardens, that's absolutely a role that you can play. And look, it's been upheld. Particularly the Auckland District Licensing Committee has upheld that right, and that the respect for Maori Wardens on many occasions. But it's like anything, if you if you prod the bear, if you prod the industry and you are making a difference, then they will group around and try and find ways of limiting, your influence or limiting your ability to do that. And they've been doing that by challenging back and saying, well, no, Maori Wardens, you need to demonstrate, well, your rights and demonstrate your values and who you are and those sorts of things. And they've been doing that now for about a couple of years, really.
Yes.
And in fact, we had a couple of meetings with Kiri Allen, the former Justice Minister, about the beginning of this year, May of this year, when she was
Yes.
coming out and saying, I want to amend this Silent Supply of Alcohol Act. What should I do to make it better? And one of the things we said was, we'll get rid of this requirement to, so that we can't be challenged, so we can just do the mahi without having to bother about these challenges that are coming at us. And all respect to her, she got that bill into Parliament. It took away that standing requirement, meant that Maori Wardens and individuals could just object when they felt they needed to. And she steered that through. Right at the last hurdle, I suppose, she had to pass it over to Ginny Anderson, the new Minister of Justice. But we were absolutely pleased, like more than you can imagine, that all that mahi we've been doing for years and years finally got the stamp of Parliament and got through, and we've now got an act, and it's taken away that challenge from the 1st September. So
That's
after
great.
the 1st September,
That's
any objections you make, you can make without being challenged as to what your role is and having to demonstrate.
So it doesn't matter where they live.
No, it's all gone. Yeah, it's all gone. Certainly going forward. So going forward, there's a bit of a lag. So there's some interesting questions at the moment about what happens to those objections you made, or Meri or anyone else made before the 1st September. We're having a little bit of a challenge around that at the moment. And when I get off your call later on this evening, I'll be writing some legal submissions about my sort of thoughts on that. But I think the position has been made clear by Parliament. They don't want this as part of this legislation. So look, we'll find that all disappears. So in some ways, the challenge recently to you and to Whaia Meri around your status as a Maori Warden, to be honest, I think they've done it too late. It almost doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter anymore, and that's what I was saying to Mereana. It doesn't matter anymore now because we've been there from day dot. It's always been about safer communities. It's always been about keeping alcohol out of our communities. That's great that we've been able to embark and move forward from that. Because when you're dealing with different people from your country, it makes it really hard. And this is what I said to a lot of these people is that, and to media is that, under the treaty we have a right as a partner, and that's certainly about keeping our community safe in regards to the harms that alcohol is doing in our communities with those liquor stores that are just popping up, as I said, popping up all over the place. I wish they had more houses popping up all over the place than what they had liquor stores. But much
I
look, thank
know.
you. I know that you're busy, and I know that you've got other stuff to write and do. And
Well, I'm happy to stay if you need someone to chat to for a little while longer. So I'm always
no,
eager to talk to you.
you're fine.
All
I
good.
know
Okay.
that you've got to
I've got to go and type some stuff on a computer. So I'll go and do
not
that.
a problem. I did send you an email for the Zabba stuff and
Yeah.
the Zabba stuff. I tried to get Crystal to send a copy,
Yep.
but we were having problems sending the copy.
I will send you a confirmation tonight.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I'm
I'll get
pretty
it all sorted
confident
out
it's
in the
all good.
morning for you.
Yeah. We'll sort it
Wonderful.
out
Thank
tomorrow
you,
morning.
Matua.
Well,
Kia
look, I
ora.
mean, I think so Thomas, if you want to
Yes.
call Crystal tonight, if she's, if someone's still operating, you can tell them to go ahead. But maybe the easiest thing is just I'll send you an email and we can talk briefly tomorrow morning if you need to. But I think
Wonderful.
we'll just go ahead. Yeah, get that
Okay.
done. Yep.
Kia ora.
Get you
Thank
back
you.
with your wheels on the road.
Oh, look, get us burning back on our wheels. We had 22 rangatahi today, and just talking to them today and getting them involved with community stuff.
Yep.
That was an eye-opener today.
Yep.
Matua Grant. But thank you always thank you for coming on Watene Live, and we're looking forward to moving forward and doing that with getting that mahi done out there.
Well,
Kia ora, Matua Grant.
one last thing, Thomas, is
Yes.
if you feel inclined to do a session at some point on climate change and
Yes.
the work of Maori Wardens in and around addressing the climate that's changing and the disasters that are happening and the need for more community and community safety, just let me know, because that's another passion of mine, is that area. So I'd love to find a way of working with you on that. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
look, by all means, I'm just getting into around the safety around animals and getting them, when they're gone through other storms and they're stuck in the rivers and stuck in the pit. Well, we're just doing that at the moment.
Yep.
Around but certainly for sure, my time will certainly get on to an event and putting that on for sure.
Yep. That'd be great. Yeah.
But,
okay. Ka kite. Okay. Go well. Okay.
Thank you. Well, kia ora whānau, that's Matua Grant, and of course, always good to talk with our Matua Grant, and is great to have with us with the Maori Wardens, and having that legal head. It just keeps us in the right space and where we're going to, and where we're focused in regards to the Maori Wardens going forward, and having that legal minded person like Matua Grant amongst the Maori Wardens and working in that area. Yep, too many bottle shops, too many liquor stores all over the place, and our Maori Wardens that have been and done the hard yards, they've seen all the damage it does in our communities, So, looking forward to working alongside Matua Grant in the up and coming future. Don't forget, check out next week, hoping to get the Māori Council on with us. Robert Abraham, I know he's busy at the moment. And of course, the Maori Wardens that have just started up under Tamaki. But we'll be working out of Orake in town. And I hope to talk with him next Tuesday about a bit more than that. Okay, then we'll catch up with you again tomorrow. Apopo.